If you've ever found yourself staring at your phone, scrolling through a feed for 20 minutes without remembering why you opened the app in the first place, you've experienced a very specific kind of psychological capture. It's that quiet, almost hollow feeling of being physically present but mentally elsewhere. You didn't make a conscious choice to lose that time. It felt more like a slow slide into a fog. People often call this a lack of willpower or a sign of being addicted to technology, but that's a superficial way of looking at it. What's actually happening is far more sophisticated. Your brain isn't failing you. In fact, it's doing exactly what it was evolved to do. The platforms you use are simply speaking a language your nervous system cannot ignore. It starts with the variable reward system. If every time you checked your phone, you saw the exact same thing, you'd eventually stop looking. But social media functions like a slot machine. Sometimes you scroll and see something boring. Other times you see a comment that makes you feel seen, a video that makes you laugh, or a notification that someone is thinking about you. Because the win is unpredictable. Your brain releases more dopamine in anticipation of the reward than it does when you actually receive it. You aren't scrolling for the content, you're scrolling for the possibility of the content. This creates a deeper pattern of anticipatory anxiety. We check our feeds not because we expect to find something life changing, but because we're afraid of the quiet that happens when we don't. It becomes a form of emotional regulation. When life feels chaotic or demanding, the feed offers a predictable, low stakes escape. It's a way of numbing the edges of the day. Then there is the removal of what psychologists call stopping cues. In the physical world, things have natural ends. You finish a chapter in a book, you reach the end of a magazine, you finish a meal. These are signals to your brain that the activity is over and it's time to move on. Social media has intentionally removed these boundaries. The infinite scroll ensures that the bottom of the page never arrives. Without a physical signal to stop, your brain stays in a state of flow that is rarely interrupted by conscious thought. You aren't choosing to stay. You're simply not being given a reason to leave. It's a subtle shift from being a participant to being a passenger. And here's where it gets interesting. The real trick isn't just about how long you stay on the app, it's about how the app begins to shape your internal identity. Most people think they are using social media to express who they are, but over time, the social validation loop begins to reverse that. When you post a photo or share a thought, you're met with immediate quantified feedback in the form of likes, views, or shares. This creates a psychological mirror. You begin to look at your own life through the lens of what will perform well. You might find yourself at a beautiful sunset, but instead of just feeling the wind or the light, you're thinking about how to frame it. You're scanning your reality for high value moments. This is a subtle form of self alienation. You start to outsource your sense of self worth to an algorithm. If a post does well, you feel validated. If it doesn't, you feel a quiet sense of rejection, not from people, but from the system itself. It's not about being vain, it's about the human need for belonging. We are wired to seek the approval of the tribe because, for most of human history, being ignored meant being in danger. These platforms have taken that ancient survival instinct and turned it into a metric. Eventually, this leads to a pattern of social reciprocity. When you see a notification that someone liked your post, you feel a subtle psychological debt to return the favor. This keeps you engaged in a cycle of digital maintenance. You aren't just consuming content, you're managing a network of tiny social obligations. It's exhausting, but it feels necessary because it's tied to your sense of social safety. When you step back and look at it, you realize it was never random. The way you feel when you're on these platforms, the slight buzz of dopamine, the mindless drift of the scroll, the quiet anxiety of the red notification dot, is all by design. It's a highly tuned environment built to bypass your logic and speak directly to your instincts. Understanding this doesn't mean you've fixed the problem, because it's not a problem with you. It's a reflection of how easily our biology can be mapped and mirrored. That awareness alone changes the way you move through the digital world. It allows you to see the phantom itch for what it is, a signal being sent to you rather than a feeling coming from you. Once you see the pattern, you can't really unsee it. You begin to notice when your hand reaches for the phone out of habit rather than intent. You start to feel the difference between a genuine connection and a quantified one. It was never about your lack of control. It was about a system that was designed to make you forget you had any. And that realization is the beginning of finding your way back to yourself.